Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Conjoined twins, Margaret and Mary Gibb, are shown in a 1940s image as Margaret receives a kiss from her fiancé. The moment captures the unique social and emotional life of the twins, who sought to keep their individuality and personal bonds along a life shaped by physical union. A London police officer wears a protective face mask as thick pollution fog cuts visibility, with streets and vehicles fading in the background. The extreme environmental event shut down the British capital and led to severe public health crises on December 5, 1952. It forced immediate changes to clean air laws. Corrine Rothschaffer poses for Paul Huff shortly after becoming the first Dutch woman to win the Miss World contest on November 10, 1959. The model and businesswoman became a European fashion icon, helping professionalize the industry and founding Amsterdam's first modeling agency in the years that followed. A massive dust cloud covers the horizon as Oklahoma residents prepare to leave during the severe Dust Bowl event in 1935. The image documents the mass migration of thousands of families who abandoned drought-stricken land in search of survival and new opportunities in the West. A family of rural workers uses the inside of an automobile as an improvised home on the outskirts of Charleston in 1938. The image reveals financial hardship in South Carolina, where lacking stable housing led many people to adapt vehicles for rest and daily living. Acrobats Alphonse and Charles Bugler, known as the Air Pirates, try to cross the Thames River on a tightrope in 1954. After the motorcycle stalls halfway, the pair must show extreme balance to push it, succeeding in a performance that pushed the limits of gravity. The Heinkel HIA 111, G3 of the FSB-3. 4-unit rests on deep snow in Copenhagen during the harsh winter of 1943. The aircraft belonged to a pilot school formed on November 27, 1939, serving a technical role in flight training in a setting where weather conditions challenged local logistics. Volcanologist Arpad Kerner and his assistant make observations in the crater of the Stromboli volcano in Italy in 1933. Wearing sturdy cylindrical protective suits, the pair monitors volcanic activity up close. The record shows the demanding conditions of geological research. Painters carry out maintenance on the Brooklyn Bridge on October 7, 1914. Hanging from steel cables high above, the workers show how modern safety equipment was absent during the job. The task was essential to preserve the iconic New York structure. British driver Raymond Mays is at the center of a memorable moment behind the wheel of a Bugatti during the Shelsley-Walsh Hill climb in 1924. In Wales, one of the car's wheels comes off during competition, showing the risks of early motor racing. A police officer on a motorcycle stops a carriage pulled by an ostrich on a busy Los Angeles street in the 1930s. The unusual episode reflects the curious traffic mix of California at the time, when conventional vehicles and exotic animal power shared city streets. Two brothers rush into an emotional embrace when they reunite on Christmas Eve after a long separation shaped by the Berlin Wall in 1963. The image captures the strength of family bonds that crossed political borders during a tense era, in a rare moment of openness and human hope. A Soviet family watches on television the New Year address of American President Ronald Reagan on December 31, 1985. The unprecedented moment symbolized early signs of diplomatic easing between the superpowers during the Gorbachev era, promoting direct dialogue with the public. A Parisian girl sitting on roller skates reads a newspaper headline announcing Yuri Gagarin's historic achievement on April 12, 1961. The image captures the global impact of the Soviet space breakthrough when the first human orbited Earth and amazed generations worldwide. Al Capone and his associates appeared dressed in sharp suits in front of a business in Hot Springs during the 1930s. The image captures a relaxed moment in a period shaped by prohibition in the United States, highlighting the influence and lifestyle tied to the urban underworld. Perched dangerously on one of the steel eagles of the Chrysler Building, photographer Margaret Bourke-White captures New York's cityscape in 1935. Her boldness reflects pioneering industrial photojournalism, recording the city's upward growth from angles rarely seen before. Balanced on a steel beam high above, a photographer captures Fifth Avenue looking north in New York. In 1905, the city was racing upward, and bold professionals chased new angles to document urban growth and Manhattan's new architecture. Pedestrians walk along Fifth Avenue in New York between towering snowbanks during the winter of 1905. The image captures the era's elegance amid weather chaos, showing how the city kept its pace and its businesses running even under extreme conditions. A family says goodbye beside a third-class train in the 1940s, showing the human impact of the international tensions of that period. The touch between father and daughter through the window symbolizes a break from everyday life and the uncertainty faced by civilian populations of that era. Immigrants in screening at Ellis Island find comfort in music and dance while waiting for legal processing to enter the United States in 1905. The image captures a rare moment of humanity and cultural preservation inside the strict screening center where hope for a new life outweighed uncertainty. Workers operate in the exposed bed of a canal in Venice during a rare draining and cleaning process in 1956. The maintenance revealed the foundations of old Italian buildings, allowing built-up sediment to be removed to protect navigation and preserve the waterways. Giant metal cones form an acoustic locator tested at Bowling Field in 1921. Before radar was invented, devices like these were key for early detection of aircraft at a distance, using sound amplification to guide surveillance systems in the early 1920s. A radiologist operates medical equipment in England in 1934. Wearing a heavy protective mask and long gloves, she shows the era's safety protocols against radiation. The setting highlights the development of British hospital technology. Irish boxer Elsie Connor poses victorious in New York in 1931. Holding her champion title, she represents women's rise in combat sports during the 1930s. The image captures the strength and pioneering spirit of women in the American professional ring. Construction workers rest on the steel cables of the St. John's Bridge in Portland in 1931. The image captures a pause during the Great Depression, highlighting the courage of the workers who built this Gothic structure, an engineering landmark in Oregon. The construction of the Panama Canal in 1922 represents one of the greatest civil engineering achievements of the early 20th century. The view of empty locks reveals the massive scale of the concrete walls and the complex drainage system. This project was vital for linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Everyday city life in New York in the 1920s shows the fast growth of car culture and the low cost of fuel. The image shows an attendant working hand pumps in a time of economic expansion. This setting helped shape the mobility that defined American progress. The massive Esso Hibernia oil tanker towers over the urban landscape of Wall's End in the United Kingdom during its construction in 1970. The ship's monumental scale contrasts with the small houses and streetcars, showing the power of British shipbuilding. The vessel represents the peak of engineering of that era. The British Concorde fleet gathered at Heathrow Airport to celebrate a decade of supersonic commercial service in 1986. The lineup symbolized the peak of British and French aviation engineering. This technological effort enabled record-setting transatlantic trips into the early 21st century. The futuristic gas station design in Kiev, in the former Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, reflects Soviet space age style in the 1980s. Saucer-shaped canopies, suspended hoses to improve the flow of vehicles. The bold architecture aimed to project an image of everyday technological progress. The delivery of the first computer to Norwich City Council in 1957 marked a turning point in British public administration. The huge Elliott Brothers cabinet required complex logistics for installation. This shift to digital data processing anticipated modern automation in city management. The future King George VI rides down a slide at an amusement park in the 1930s, showing a relaxed side of the British monarchy. Dressed formally in a bowler hat and suit, he took part in public events meant to bring the royal family closer to the people of the United Kingdom. Sean Connery and Ursula Andress relax on a Jamaica beach during the filming of Dr. No in 1962. The feature launched the James Bond film series and turned the actors into global pop culture icons by setting new standards for style and action in modern cinema. Students from the Kazan Aviation Institute take part in a mass aerobics routine in a packed stadium in the Soviet Union in 1985. The practice reinforced ideals of physical discipline and social unity, typical of the era's international tensions, organized by higher technical education institutions. Alaska Native communities performed the traditional walrus skin blanket toss during a community celebration on the Arctic coast in 1965. Originally used by hunters to spot whales in the distance, the launching technique evolved into entertainment that strengthened ties between villages. In the mid-1970s, the paths of future action film icons often included intense martial arts training. This image of a young Steven Seagal highlights his dedication to Aikido before global fame. That preparation helped spread Eastern techniques in Western entertainment. San Bernardino's rough around the edges look in 1979 provided the backdrop for Richard Gere's rise as a symbol of a new kind of masculinity in American film. The image captures everyday California atmosphere, blending classic car design with the ascent of one of Hollywood's biggest stars of the time. Actress Carolyn Jones appears in a relaxed moment while drinking a soda in 1956. Years before worldwide fame as the iconic Morticia Addams, she already showed a distinctive style. The photograph preserves the spirit of American pop culture of that decade. A small child shows affection by kissing an American service member on February 14, 1945. The image takes place during Valentine's Day celebrations in the 1940s, revealing a rare fragment of humanity in that setting. Civilians and local groups toast with excitement the return of France's autonomy in a village in Normandy in 1944. The image captures shared relief after years of restrictions, celebrating arriving troops and the start of a new chapter of sovereignty and peace for the European nation. The demonstration of the cantilever principle in 1887 was key to making construction of the fourth bridge in Great Britain possible. Using the human body to illustrate weight distribution and tension, engineers presented the concept at the Royal Institution. The innovation revolutionized large metal structures of the Victorian era. Skilled electrical line workers posed for a group portrait in 1918. Many climbed wooden poles using basic safety gear, showing the technical skill required at the time. Expanding infrastructure was vital for industrial growth. A member of the Achilles Serre Women's Fire Brigade works in London in 1925. Wearing a distinctive uniform and a protective helmet, she handles debris in a training or emergency setting. The organization shows the growing role of women in essential British services. Members of the private Achilles Serre Limited Brigade appear geared up on an adapted motorcycle in 1925. The group was traveling to a tournament in London, showing the organization of private companies that provided local industrial security. During the 1950s, the push for practicality in small spaces drove the rise of multifunction appliances. This example combines an electric stove and a sink over a refrigerated cabinet. General Chef made units like these for studio apartments and shelters at the height of industrial design. A Cuyahoga electric vehicle remains connected to a complex charging panel in a garage in 1910. The scene shows early sustainable transportation, revealing advanced technology infrastructure that pursued practical alternatives to combustion engines. A driver makes improvised repairs on a Ziyaz 965 car right in the lane of a busy avenue on October 13, 1981. The model was one of the most popular vehicles in the Soviet Union, and the scene shows the constant need for hands-on mechanical maintenance common among drivers of the time. A young woman waits for her vehicle to be serviced on a street in Washington in 1942. Civilian life in the United States was reshaped by the 1940s as repair work and rubber restrictions set the pace for keeping cars on the road. The Benny's grocery sign marks number 802 on West Gwinnett Street in Georgia. Handwritten signs show prices for basic goods like lard, salt, and cornmeal. An outdoor gas pump offers 5 gallons of gasoline for 85 cents on May 15, 1939. The sign for Yep Ah Sing highlights a Chinese laundry on a busy business street. In the background, the office of attorney J.C. Forbes and the practice of dentist Dr. J.S. Dubois show the mix of city services. 3 women in Victorian dress walk by around May 10, 1900. A General Post Office worker poses in uniform on his cargo tricycle on a street in England. The front basket shows the Royal Mail mark, used for efficient delivery of letters and parcels. The British postal system used vehicles like these on May 12, 1934. Public typists worked on sidewalks near government offices to help citizens who needed formal documents. The sound of typewriters filled the city air as petitions and letters were prepared. The job was essential in an era of paper-based, hands-on bureaucracy. Residents of Amsterdam gather in the narrow alley of Nieuwe Zuidarmsteeg in August 1916. Brick facades and local shop signs such as Broodfabriek form the typical Dutch streetscape. European city life continued even amid international tensions. Tower Bridge stands as a symbol of Victorian engineering in London, but this account highlights a humble beginning in 1827. That year, a rented pastry shop on William Street became the birthplace of a business that would grow with the metropolis, linking local commerce to British progress. A customer is served at the counter of a Broadway lunch spot in New York in 1952. The outside sign advertises quick meals, while the menu shows typical prices for sandwiches and sodas, reflecting the fast-moving American city lifestyle after the war. Amsterdam University students enjoy a sunny afternoon socializing along a canal during the cultural energy of the 1960s. Captured by Paul Huff, the image reflects changing norms and the rise of a new youth identity that put freedom of expression first. Visitors at Gorky Park in Moscow watch the Flying People ride in the summer of 1937. The attraction had 6 mechanical arms that swung riders in 180-degree arcs, delivering a thrill that reflected Soviet enthusiasm for technical progress and leisure. Beach leisure in the 1930s reflects changing social norms and the growing popularity of outdoor group sports. Swimsuits of the time show a shift toward more practical cuts that allowed movement. That recreational freedom signaled new dynamics in women's social life. In November 1919, England's champion swimmers pose beside an indoor pool. The image shows advances in sportswear, with suits designed to reduce drag in the water. A coach stands with the group, symbolizing the elite of British sport. A steam locomotive crosses the striking wooden bridge of the Columbia and Nehalem Valley Railroad at McBride Creek in the state of Montana around 1905. The monumental structure shows the rugged engineering needed to expand trade routes across the United States during the peak of the industrial era. Two adventurers use their motorcycles as support for an improvised tent during an outdoor camp. The creative use of Harley-Davidson bikes shows the spirit of freedom and exploration that began to define the lifestyle of early two-wheel travelers. A family enjoys free time beside a vehicle fitted with an attached tent structure in 1920. The roadside camp shows the early roots of camper travel and automobile tourism that grew popular in the early 1920s. A child sitting at the wheel of an old tractor symbolizes rural heritage passed from one generation to the next. Farm mechanization changed family routines, bringing young people into the work world early. That connection reinforced the role of machines in building a new future. A 19th century settler family poses proudly in front of their sod house on the American Great Plains, displaying household belongings in the yard. The image reveals the hard reality of frontier life, where scarce timber led to shelters built from earth and grass. Henry Ford is shown driving the first automobile he built in 1896. The experimental vehicle, known as the quadricycle, marks the early stage of his mechanical innovations in Detroit, signaling the future transformation of transportation worldwide. Young Albert Einstein poses for a portrait in Munich at 5 years old in 1884. The colorized version highlights the era's formal clothing and the child's calm posture in Germany, long before his ideas reshaped modern physics. Chemist Robert Cornelius challenged the technical limits of his time by making a daguerreotype of himself in Philadelphia. Working with simple equipment in October 1839, he stayed still for a long interval to capture what would become the first self-portrait. Ruth Flora Disney appears as a small child beside her older brother, Walter Elias Disney, at the family home in Chicago. In 1906, the family moved to a farm in Marceline, a place that deeply shaped the future filmmaker's creative view of rural life in America. The Gaze of Yellow Shirt, a Lakota man, was preserved through the lens of F.A. Reinhardt in 1899. This portrait is part of an important documentary collection that aimed to record the dignity and traditions of Native nations during a time of deep social and cultural change on the plains. A Sami couple poses for a portrait in 1870, showing traditional clothing rich with cultural detail. The image offers a glimpse of ancestral customs preserved amid 19th century change. The attire reflects the identity and history of Nordic peoples. A Swedish bride poses for an official portrait wearing traditional clothing filled with ornate detail around 1880. The outfit includes an impressive floral crown and embroidered adornments that reflect 19th century Scandinavian wedding customs and cultural preservation in the region. An elderly Irish woman works her handmade spinning wheel in County Galway in a manually colorized image from the mid-1890s. The picture shows the persistence of rural traditions and hand domestic work in Ireland, even as the Industrial Revolution reshaped Europe. Local guides and European tourists pose by the Sphinx and the Great Pyramids of Giza in a rare 1867 photograph. The image shows the early days of modern tourism in Egypt, when visitors climbed ancient monuments to look out over the desert, highlighting Western fascination with archaeology in the 19th century. The busy Calcutta Bazaar is recorded in 1800, showing intense commerce and foot traffic in India under British rule. Colonial architecture in the background and the presence of pack animals shaped the region's vital economic scene, which served as one of the main trade hubs of the East. A Japanese couple takes a self-portrait in a mirror using a camera on a tripod in Japan about 100 years ago. The image captures the evolution of photographic technology and the adoption of modern habits in everyday life, preserving the pair in a moment of intimacy and technical innovation. The dry lands of the Yucatan Peninsula set the scene for this 1952 image. The Maya huipil with detailed floral embroidery represents the cultural continuity of an ancient people. These traditional garments endure in Mexican communities today. Shopkeepers wait patiently for customers at the entrance of a traditional business in 1950. The window displays coffee and tea ads during a time of economic rebuilding, reflecting European street commerce before modern big supermarkets spread widely. A horsewoman rides with elegance using a side saddle, a traditional method that let women ride while following the etiquette rules of the time. Her full riding outfit includes a top hat and a structured jacket typical of the 19th century. The practice reinforced social distinctions on July 22, 1885. Women wearing long dresses and elegant hats practice archery in Regent's Park in London during the Victorian era. Outdoor sport was one of the few physical activities considered socially acceptable for women in the British upper class, blending discipline and leisure in the royal gardens. Three sisters pose for a portrait taken by renowned photographer James Van der Zee in 1926. The image is a classic record of the Harlem Renaissance, highlighting the elegance and identity of the Black American middle class through refined technique and the sensitive eye of one of the era's greatest visual storytellers. Four young people in their best Sunday clothes pose with style beside an automobile on the south side of Chicago in 1941. The scene reflects the strong cultural identity and pride of urban African American communities, where fashion served as social expression and resilience during a time of major change. Jessie Tarbox Beals carried her bulky camera equipment through the streets of New York in the early 1900s. Recognized as the first female photojournalist in the United States, she faced social and physical barriers to document city events and everyday scenes with a distinct personal eye. On a French street, a group of children gathers in front of a closed door, turning everyday life into a shared prank. The spontaneous scene captures the energy and curiosity of urban childhood in France in 1934. Two Ainu women display their traditional lip tattoos in an 1890 photograph made by Tomoto Kenzo in Japan. The ancestral custom represented status and cultural maturity, reflecting the rich identity of this indigenous group during a period of deep social change in the archipelago. A gigantic manta ray hangs from a crane in front of a brick wall during the summer of 1933. The image documents the sea creature's impressive size beside a uniformed man, showing the era's fascination with ocean wildlife and public biological displays. The Paris Motor Show presented the Simica convertible special, designed by Ghia in October 1954. The vehicle blended French engineering with refined Italian design, drawing attention amid costumed figures. The event highlighted automotive sophistication. Cats dressed in custom outfits perform acrobatics on a gym bar in the famous work of Harry Whittier Fries, captured in the 1910s. A pioneer of anthropomorphic animal photography, Fries used patience and detailed costumes to create postcards that delighted audiences of the time. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.